Hello, good morning. Hello to you Brits and Americans. Do you know the biggest, really, all the bloggers here in the Philippines talk about all sorts of different issues, but ultimately the biggest issue for anybody coming to live in Asia, I'll say Asia, on a fixed income, that is one that is dominated by not just your savings that you have, but more the fact that you only have a pension to draw upon, is always going to be a bugbear, because NHS, veteran hospitals, all these things, generally speaking, come on Americans, prove me wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Okay, we know you've got insurance and you've got money behind you, but that's the whole point. If you're a wealthy person, in other words, you have sufficient money in your retirement to have a whopping great big nest egg, and the likelihood that you have been or will be getting sick in the future, then that money can be used to help pay for your recovery. But generally speaking, if you're over 70, it's pretty hard to get any kind of insurance that will work anywhere in the world, really. We get into that too hard basket after all. Would you invest in somebody you know that's going to die soon? Not really a very good return, especially if there's likelihood of claims. So forget about the idea of coming to the Philippines if you're in poor health. If you're in poor health, you're better off. I know it might sound dreadful, but you are better off staying where you can gain the facilities that you're used to in your own country. But for those majority of fit and active guys, I think the Philippines is great. And there's always going to be those, dare I say it, Americans are always knocking me. You don't know what you're talking about. Well, I'm afraid I live here, and you may well be one of those guys that's sitting there on a big bankroll that you've managed to acquire, in addition to very hefty pensions. Then you can speak from your little ivory tower and tell us that we're talking a load of shit. But the reality is that if you are in good health, and there's a history of good health for you, hedging your bets, I would say that the Philippines is a great place to come. Because when we get to the age of 75 plus, we already know that it's not long before we start pushing up daisies. So therefore we are seeking solitude away from our homeland, with the added benefits of a beautiful woman to spend that few years that you have left with. Somebody who will show caring, loyalty, love and affection towards you. Whether or not it's a very good act or not, it doesn't matter, because we as human beings prosper on love, attention and caring from our partner. And no matter how it's generated, whether it's generated because you have the ability to draw regularly your ATM card, or whether it's a feeling of love or affection, or even just a grown affection, then who cares? At the end of the day, you're spending your last days on this planet with a surround sound enjoyment of life. Every day it's warm, every day it's hot, every day it's wet. It doesn't matter where you live in the Philippines, it'll be one of those three things or many more. But that is the joy of living in the tropics. and therefore we don't have to worry about keeping warm. We have to worry about keeping cool. And those, of course, that don't like the heat, not the greatest place to come, unless you want to spend it under an ice cold shower, which you can have. I choose to have a electric heated one because I think the electric heated water is better for my genteel English skin than the cold shock of a bucket and a scoop over my head. But the food is great. It's up to you how you make the recipe and what the recipe consists of. Yes, it's harder to find T-bone steaks, harder to find sausages you particularly like. Plenty of eggs, brown ones, white ones, yellow ones, spotted ones, you name it, they're here. Cheeses, you can buy it, it's on the expensive side. But bacon, you can find some good bacons here, and you can find some pretty average, and you can find some dreadful bacon. But it's up to you how you find. Once you find the source, keep to it. So you can have your bacon and eggs and fried bread. You can buy lard here, you can have fried bread, grilled tomatoes, all those things for breakfast. You can buy Quaker's Oats porridge for breakfast. You can buy, UTL, UHT milk. But if you get it from New Zealand or some of the recognized American companies, then it's fine. You just get used to the taste. It's a bit like getting used to Kellogg's cornflakes under a different brand name. And Nestle do cornflakes, but they don't taste like Kellogg's, you know, that's that kind of thing. But as I've said before, you can buy a lot of your British foods through BritBox, BritBox. Great system, very fast, very efficient, and not too expensive either. Delivered to your door. So really, what more can you want? You wake up every morning, a smile on your face, and she's got a smile on hers. Maybe she's off to work. Gives you a bit of time on your own to sort of wander around and do a few exploratory expeditions on your own, to gather thoughts on your own, and to smile and enjoy life as what we want in life. So don't be put off just because you might not be able to get the best of care, affordable care here. It's a lot cheaper than if you had to pay for it in your own country, but that's not to include things like veterans hospitals or NHS in England, because here you have to pay for everything like you do in New Zealand. And nobody complains about living in New Zealand, because in New Zealand, of course, user pays, has been for many, many years. Pay to go to the doctor, you pay to visit the hospital. Some of it's free, but most of it you pay for. So you're hedging your bets no matter where you live in the world. But if you're coming here with major artery problems, maybe major diabetes, yes, you can get treatment here, but it still costs you money, so you need that money behind you. The ideal would be to have, I would say, at least $10,000 to $20,000 American stashed away as a never to be touched account, just for those emergencies. That is your insurance policy. After all, what is insurance? It's just for the event of. So have that money behind you. Don't touch it. Don't spend it on building houses. Do it on that way. But touching on the point of building a house from my perspective, and I know there's some selfish sods out there who only think of their own investment. Everything has to be an investment. Well, the word is investing in something. Investing in the future of your partner, showing that she's invested her life with you. So in return, you're building a modest, not a palace, but a modest home that both of you can afford to live in. and only have to pay the real tax on the property and just maintain it. And what's wrong with that? Oh, you can rent cheaper than that. It's just throwing money away. Would you invest 50,000? I've heard it over and over again. Again, either they're sitting at home in their little rocking chairs on their verandas, yee-hawing, or they're over here swanning around at bars, drinking coffee with their cohorts and talking about the girl they're going to have tonight. That one's better than the one that was there last night. Well, I don't consider them retirees. I just consider them jack the lads with an unrealistic attitude towards growing old. Would probably make their own relatives cringe if they knew that that's what they were doing. But unfortunately, in all societies, you get people like that. So focusing on Brits particularly, because Americans, not all, most Americans don't feel that way, but some just want to knock me because they just can't handle the truth. They're horrible, they're obnoxious, and they make a fool of themselves and give their own families and fellow Americans a bad name, which is not the way we should behave. I try and like to live to exemplify being British, living here in the Philippines, and some choose to just act like trailer trash. So sorry about that, little bit of a knock, but I hope you had a great day. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Goodbye to those who don't want to subscribe anymore. That's fine. Up, down and away. Bye now.